beginning, we just started learning the protocol and drawing these diagrams. So as you can see, we have a lot of diagrams, so many diagrams that we had to split them into two Excalidraw files. And both of us basically drew diagrams. So meanwhile, I went through the governance contract. As you can see, I basically, actually from the part where I started going through the docs, so I draw these diagrams, okay? So you can see here, there is a process where you can add new landing terms to the protocol. And this is something that I read from the docs, and I just summarized it as like a flowchart here in Excalidraw. So we have propose, we have the vote, and this takes 2 days. Then there could be a veto for this landing term, so people can block it from happening. And yeah, so just chart flows. And this is already when I got into the smart contracts and I started drawing like every function, what happens. So create term, the user calls this contract. Then these are the validations that are happening. Maybe there are some missing validations, right? Maybe some of the parameters are not being validated. Maybe we can manipulate the state somehow. Then we create a new clone. Then we initialize the clone. So they use Open Zeppelin minimal proxies, clones. So this is how these diagrams work. You see, we basically break down every contract, every functionality to diagrams so we can understand them better. And also when we forgot something, we can always go back to these diagrams and see how it works. Also, if you want to come up with attack ideas, we can, instead of going and looking at the code, we can just look at these diagrams and try to think, what if we call this function? And then before step 3 happens, we call this function, or maybe with this callback, we call this function. So it's a very nice way for you to understand the protocol while being active at the same time. For me, I'm an active learner, so I'm learning more by doing. You already know that. I talk about it in the course. I talk about it on YouTube. So if I will just read the code, just another tip from me, if I'm just reading the code, just scrolling, I'm going to have a blackout. I'm not going to be focused. I'm not going to be like, it's just not going to work for me. I'm going to be very slow and I'm not going to consume the information good enough. So what helps me is first writing these audit comments, not only audit issues, but explaining myself the protocol. So if I read a constructor and I have something to say, I will write it. If the constructor looks okay, I will add a comment here, audit, okay, looks good, or nothing to see here. And then I will fall it down over here and move on to the next function, okay? Try to go function by function until I understand all the protocol. And another way to learn the protocol better is not only to read the functions, but create these kind of flowcharts so you're actively doing something, not just reading code. And then it's also helpful resource for you or for the other team member that you are working with.